ekamaksharam hridhi nirantaram bhasati swayam likyate hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram yaham maham iti sakshat atmarupena hridhi vishamanasa swam Chinvata Majjata Anucharanaro Atmanishto Deham Brahmaya Jadatmakam Aham Buddharnatasyastyato Aham Tattva Bhava Shukti Samaye Siddhartma Sadbhavata Om Bhavayuta Kuto Arahita Drishtatmanishtatmana Soham Sputitaya Arunachala Shiva Purno Vibhati Swayam Soham Sputitaya Arunachala Shiva Purno Vibhati Swayam. Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, it has been our practice to randomly select 2 verses from the work Guruvachaka Kove, written by Muruganar Swamigal. The random selection is done by Revatima for us. Each verse is read and the verse reading is followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that is followed by the practice of self-enquiry for about 15 minutes. After these 2 segments of verse reading, meditation on meaning, and practice of Atma Vichara are completed, there will be summing up remarks by Venkatesh Deshpande ji, and that will be followed by the offering of Sri Ramanacentre. The chanting will be by Vaibhavji and Prarthnama, and the puja team is away, so we will sit through in who is listening to the chanting during the verbal offering. We begin the satsang by taking up the first verse selected for us, 769. Verse number 769. We find this in the segment Meditation on the Truth. The first segment being Investigation into Truth, the second being Meditation on Truth, and the final being Experience of the Truth. 769 is in the subsegment Nishtha and Viveka, self-abidance and discrimination. Self-abidance and discrimination. Discrimination is, of course, to separate the self from the non-self or reality from the unreal. And self-abidance is having the oneness with the Atma. 769. Only the self-abidance wherein one shines free of affliction will cut asunder all the bonds engendered by the non-self. Only the self-abidance wherein one shines free of affliction will cut asunder all the bonds engendered by the non-self. Discrimination, viveka, which differentiates between the unreal and the real, that is one's own nature, the real being one's own nature, is only an aid to immaculate desirelessness. This is actually a question from Ramana Gita also. In the Ramana Gita chapter, there is this question: will jnana come by the practice of discrimination itself? That is, by knowing the difference between the real and the unreal. There also Bhagavan says no. The discrimination can aid the sadhana, but then self-abidance alone, that is the effortless oneness with the self alone, can be called as jnana. So any amount of discrimination will take you one step towards the self, but what is still left, we can't say how much it is, because these are not to be brought in terms of measurement. So 2-3 things come up here for helping our discrimination, but then we'll have to use that and go for self-abidance. Only the self-abidance wherein one shines free of affliction. So self-abidance, that is the oneness. So the affliction is the division between the self and the non-self. And there is some light which is put. Immediately that there is difference between self and the non-self, then bonds are engendered. Then immediately we want to see how we are related to the non-self, how we can use the non-self, whether the non-self, to what extent it will protect us. We being the self, and let's say we are able to see the non-self. Human beings are said to be endowed with this ability. Like the many references we make, my body, my eyes, my leg, shows that there is some degree of freedom from the non-self. That we understand that the body is not me, it is at some point. But then the moment we come into interaction with another, we say I. The entire body, when the self-attention is not there, even in the relative sense, we always refer the bodily movements to be me. Whereas when we are attending to the ailments in the body, or let's say some strength in the body, we'll say my hands are all right, but my legs seem to have this kind of weakness, something like that. So we use the term my legs, differentiating the self from the non-self. The discrimination is there, but the intensity or the strength of tapas to find out what is really the self and to abide in that. We definitely understand that the gross sensory body is not me, therefore the sensory perceptions is definitely not me. But the gross body and the gross sensory perceptions or always for oneself. The beauty is this self is always there. But then we don't pay attention to that. We identify with the non-self and go off into that world of non-self. We identify with the physical body, a non-self, go into a world of physical objects. We identify with a subtle body and we are immediately enveloped by a world of subtle thoughts. And in deep sleep, tired with all the fighting in the gross and the subtle worlds, we unable to do anything, we go off into I don't know anything about this, and we are surrounded, though happily so, by an undifferentiated ignorance, undifferentiated darkness. That undifferentiated brings the happiness there. The moment there is difference between self and non-self, there is unhappiness. The undifferentiated ignorance of deep sleep also brings a happiness. But then, since it is in ignorance, it is also temporal. You can't sleep forever. So you are awakened into this relative ignorance where the self and non-self are separated through sensory body, through emotions, through thoughts, through intellectual thoughts. But then, as the sensory world, the emotions, all other thoughts are accessed by an I thought, Bhagavan takes this first I thought as the root non-self to be attended to. If you attend to this root non-self and you find it non-existent, then that whole area of non-self is non-existent in the self-abidance, in the self-luminous self. That is where all afflictions are cut asunder. When there is only the self, self-luminous self, and even the root non-self of raising as I is cut asunder, all afflictions are cut asunder, root, branch, and everything. Therefore, Bhagavan reduces the afflictions to one. The root affliction of raising as the I thought. All thoughts are said to be limited. You can easily perceive the limited nature of thought or the thought as a non-self, because when we are sensitive enough, we are able to see the thought. We are able to observe the thought. See the thoughts beginning, the thoughts middle, and when we let go, the thoughts end. We are able to see. So any thought, any emotion, any sense, any sensory object, all are limited non-self. And the discrimination helps us to attend to the root limitation. Root limitation is the raising of the I thought. I thought being a thought, it is also limited. And the attention put on it, it destroys that root and takes us to that which ever is, that which is unconditional, that which is not limited, that which is a light unto itself. There the individuality is gone. You are the light unto yourself. You are the self-luminous self. And when all the pulls towards the non-self, sensory, emotional, thought, or intellect are all cut asunder with the destruction of the ego, then one abides in this. This is the freedom from all afflictions, says Bhagavan. So let us get to the task of paying attention to this root affliction. Root affliction is the raise as I thought. So let's sit in self-enquiry for the next 15 minutes or so. Ujjalji will trouble you for the setting of time. No, Namo Ramana. We continue by taking up the next verse selected for us, 1186. 1186. We find it in the segment Investigation into Truth. Experience of the Truth. The last segment. The subsegment is Pure Silence. Pure Silence, the greatness of Mauna. Pure Silence, the greatness of Mauna, 1186. This you should know. Contemplating with the whole mind and without a break, the non-dual supreme reality, that is Atma Swarupa, is alone pure transcendental silence. On the other hand, the mere lazy condition of a dull mind is only evil and intense delusion. This you should know. Contemplating with whole mind and without a break, the non-dual supreme reality, that is Atma Swarupa, is alone pure transcendental silence. On the other hand, the mere lazy condition of a dull mind is only evil and intense delusion. Where from this verse arises is from Upadesha Manjari. It's a very beautiful discussion where Swami Natanananda asks, is the state of being still a state involving effort or effortless? Is the state of being still, that is attention holding the eye and being still. The attention is also still, the eye is also still. That is called as Mulu Muyarchi. The whole mind is attending to itself without a break. All other mundane activities, let me read Bhagavan. It is not an effortless state or indolence. It is not laziness. To still the eye, turning attention away from all other thoughts and to hold the eye and still the eye, is not indolence. All mundane activities which are ordinarily called effort are performed with the aid of a portion of the mind and with frequent breaks. But the act of communion with the self, Atma Vyavahara, communion with the self or remaining still inwardly, is intense activity which is performed with the entire mind and without break. Any problem you are having, which is the full effort you can do, being still is the Mulu Muyarchi. It may be the whole global warming problem or a small problem, but what is the complete effort towards that or towards anything is to turn the attention inward and still the self. There is nothing more that can be done. All other prayers, all other efforts are done with part of the mind and with frequent breaks, whereas self-attention is done with the whole of the mind and without breaks. Maya, delusion or ignorance, which cannot be destroyed by any other act, is completely destroyed by this intense activity called silence. So the Mulu Muyarchi, we should simply understand what a gift has been received from life. That when the Jiva, which has been running hither and thither, making so many efforts, thinking so many different things to come to happiness. Bhagavan is saying, Tirumbi aham tane dinamaha kankan. Turn inward and be still. How to be still? The ego moves when it chases thoughts. So, when a thought arises, do not chase it, but ask for whom is this thought? This thought is for me. Who am I? Stills the eye for a moment. Good enough. Suppose there are vasanas, you get pushed, again still the eye. With sufficient attention, the vasanas do not come that fast, that thick and fast, and one is able to hold the eye directly and be still. As the vasanas reduce, the ability to hold the eye increases, and when the vasanas are all exhausted, then self attention is natural, effortless. You need not make any effort to hold the eye because only the self is there. There is no raising for one to turn and hold the eye or still the eye. But this is Mulu Muyarchi, be still, Bhagavan. And he often quotes from the Bible where it is said, be still and know that I am God. In the sense that the still eye, which does not chase any world or any object, that itself is the supreme consciousness, which does not have any fragmenting nature, which does not have any division, as even worshipper and the worshipped. The worshipper and worshipped also are now united in one self. That is what Bhagavan says to Seshadri Swamigal. When Seshadri Swamigal asks, why are you not thinking of Arunachala? Bhagavan says, is there a division in the self as worshipper and worshipped? There is only the self attending to itself, and that too effortlessly. That is the supreme, and only oneness with that. Since that alone is, you are that. Since that alone is, the world is that. Since that alone is, whatever gods you have worshipped, they are all only that. That alone, that effortless light of the self alone is, effortless being of the self alone is. Therefore, nothing else is. You are that, the world is that, all the deities you have worshipped are all now only that. And that is where the Brahmastra of Atma Vichara takes us. So let us learn the practice of using that Brahmastra for 15 more minutes. Ujjwalji will trouble you again.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. May I request Venkatesh ji to give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana sir.
Namo Ramana. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Dhyanamoolam Gurur Murtihi Pujamulam Gurur Padam Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa. Namo Ramana. We have two lovely verses to do manana on. So let's compare this to gold. So if you go to people and ask, why do you buy and keep gold as gold? So if you go into a lot of old families, or families buy coins, they buy biscuits, they want to keep gold as gold. Why? It's because it does not have any afflictions. But when the bonds of non-self come in, what happens? These gold becomes bracelets, they become necklaces and other things. So then what happens? You use discrimination. What is real and what is not real? Is the necklace real? Then you try to understand, where is the real value? Is the value in the design or is in the gold? And then what happened? You realize, oh, it's only in the gold. So when you think of gold, what comes to your mind? When you think of pure biscuit, you think it's not fragmented. But when you think of a necklace or bracelet, what happened? It feels fragmented. Now the other thing was beautiful about the stillness. If you keep a bar of biscuit in your locker, does the value? It does nothing actually. But its value keeps going up, keeps going up, keeps going up. But when you have in the form of ornaments, what happens? You're continuously thinking, oh, this design is getting old. I need to change the design, and melt it. Then you lose some. There's wastage, and so many things you're going to think about. So important thing is that gold is in every inch of the ornament. And this is a very important thing. So absolute stillness is only in the gold. So more and more we use discrimination, we realize abidance in the gold. Abidance in the gold only releases us from all bonds of necklace, bracelets, and rings. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana sir. Thank you very much. May I request Vaibhavji and Pratnama to offer the chanting. Let the rest of us inquire as to who is listening and still the eye. Vaibhavji. Namo Ramana.
नमो रमना। भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशेर् यस्योर्विमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन महोंसेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। अखंड संविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलदिद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। तीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुरिणे नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋचान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्थिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रिशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः स्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्यैकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana Vaibhav ji and Pratnama. Thank you so much. Namo Ramana Venkatesh ji. Namo Ramana Arjun ji.